Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Darren, who is the founder and MD of Fellowship with. Hey, Darren, how is it going?
Hi there, Ranmay. Yeah, very well, thank you. Nice to meet you, and thanks for inviting me on.
Darren, before we move any forward, let's get to know the human behind the mic. Why don't you talk us through your journey, your career, and how do you build your agency? And we pick it up from there.
Sure, yeah, be happy to do that. Summing up a long journey. So I've been in this industry now for well over 30 years, and from a young age, I was always really fascinated by essentially art, design, and music. And that's my real sort of passion from a young age. And that passion led on to being really interested in essentially graphic design. And then when the internet exploded in the sort of mid
Yeah.
90s, I was really, passionate about websites, designing websites and managing teams to build websites. So it started sort of many, many years ago, about 30 years ago. But Fellowship as an agency took a long time until I made that plunge into creating and starting to build the agency that we have now. So before that, I
Mhm.
was very much a freelance graphic and web designer, working with partners and other agencies to build the websites. But then the moment came where I decided, let's build an agency and let's build a really good in-house team so that we can design
Mhm.
and build fantastic websites ourselves with, other services. So that's a very short summary of the journey.
Lovely, lovely, Darren. It takes immense guts and, a lot of decision making to kind of start your entrepreneurial journey, right? While you did it, right? I mean, the initial days must have been really challenging, right? I mean, running an agency, starting an agency and then running it for so long is not a mean task. So, give throw some light on, those initial challenges, those getting those first clients to keep those lights on. How were those days, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I was quite fortunate, really, because from the age of 18, I landed a job as a graphic designer running a studio, but there wasn't a
Mhm.
great deal of work at that particular company. So I started doing freelance graphic design projects for local businesses, fairly small businesses, which really grew fairly quickly. So by the age of 20, I left the company that I was working at and became a full-time freelance graphic designer and managed to build up quite a good reputation with some decent clients. So I was quite lucky in that respect. In the evenings, by the way, I then dabbled with, because of my passion in music, I dabbled with the music industry and started to make some records, music production. And I essentially for 10 years had a sort of daytime job as graphic slash web designer, evening job as record producer, started to build a studio. And I managed to juggle both by doing
Mhm.
essentially 70 or 80 hours, every week running both businesses. But I very early on employed one person who was a junior graphic designer, and that really helped. And I kept it very small with
Mhm.
just one employee working from a home office
Mhm.
for a long time, for over 10 years. So if I'm
Yeah.
honest with you, it wasn't particularly challenging back then. I found it
Mhm.
quite easy until I
Mhm.
landed a few very big clients, and then things changed. So I was very
Yeah.
lucky that I landed a large client called Thomas Cook, the big travel brand,
Yeah.
uh, and that changed everything. Within a year, that one client was responsible for about 90% of my turnover in total. And I
When did
found,
that happen? I mean, when
well,
did
that,
Thomas Cook
yeah,
happen?
good. That was around about the year 2000. And I was doing at that time, I only had maybe half a dozen clients, but Thomas Cook was the big one that took up all of my time, and I had to move on from the other clients that I had. And I did for Thomas Cook, I led on a lot of their rebrand projects, did a lot of graphic
Mhm.
design work, but also helped to design some of their travel websites, which was particularly successful. And then they introduced me to other brands in their
Yeah,
portfolio
obviously.
and their
Yeah.
marketing team. And they pretty much became my sort of sole client for a long time. And that began the journey of me deciding sort of shortly afterwards, thinking about, should I now create an agency? Should I try and build a company of value and have a build
Mhm.
a team and have an agency rather than carrying on just having a lifestyle business with just me and one employee? So that really became that planted the seed, made me
Yeah.
think the future growth.
Right. And talking about growth, I mean, you guys have grown significantly in the last 20 years, right? So, what was the challenge in terms of scaling the business? Yes, I understand you got to was early in the early days, but and then going from one client to five to 10, and then again there is
Sure.
one thing called getting from 0 to 1, and then going from 1 to 100. How did your 1 to 100 look like?
Again, so our growth was actually very slow and steady to begin with. If I look back, I wish I would have been a bit more ambitious and accelerated the growth earlier. But we
Okay.
grew fairly slowly. So we were quite selective about the clients that we took on, and we built a
Hmm.
team to only a small size of sort of 5 to 7 employees, and we kept the team fairly small for a number of years, and we were quite happy. I was quite happy with just managing a fairly small team, because as the founder and the MD, you have to wear a lot of hats, don't you? So my challenge was always, I was still designing websites, I was still managing projects, I was responsible for sales, I was responsible for finance. So I was still spinning lots of plates and wearing multiple hats. But I could fit all of that in and manage a team of, say, 7 or 8 people. But the real change was when we got to the year 2019, and we had an opportunity to basically acquire another very good website agency, which consisted of a web designer and 3 developers. And I was very fortunate that they wanted to come and join Fellowship. So within about a
Yeah.
month, we all of a sudden our team grew to about 13 people, and we then
Lovely.
acquired a nice selection of new clients virtually overnight. So they brought about 20 of their clients over to Fellowship, and that was just before COVID. So the interesting thing was, we then moved to bigger premises, and we had the whole team in a lovely building. And then in March 2020, COVID hit, and then you know the rest. We were all locked down. But actually, during COVID, it was our busiest period ever, because lots of our clients,
Okay.
particularly the e-commerce clients, their
Yeah.
physical stores, their shops, their retail outlets were closed down. We were all in lockdown, and they asked us if we could help to increase the revenue from their e-commerce websites.
Yeah.
And we had to then employ quite a few other people, mainly developers, during COVID, which was, very challenging, doing remote interviews and building a remote
Yeah.
course. But that was a very busy time for us. And we grew during those sort of 2 years of COVID. We grew from a team of about 11 to about 14. And then we've grown steadily now up to sort of a team of 17.
Lovely, lovely. Talking about team, you have built quite a strong team at Fellowship. And then, you mentioned about, hiring developers, which can be really tricky, right? So, and any tricks up there, how do you foster a culture of innovation and collaboration at Fellowship, and, also ensure that skill sets which are required is also there?
Sure, it's really challenging. I agree with you. So before hiring my own developers, I worked with another company that had a team of developers. And the owner of that business used to tell me, it's really difficult
Yeah,
building a team of brilliant
it
developers,
is.
really good skills. So he had given me a bit of advance warning about, if you venture into this, be prepared, because you need really good people, you need to create a good culture and so on. So I think what I'd say is we did it fairly slowly and steadily. And I made sure that my first lead developer that started with us about 11 years ago now, he worked very closely alongside me on interviews, reviewing the skills of a potential developer, because obviously my only experience in web development is sort of early 90s, when I read all the books from the industry giants like Jeffrey Zeldman, Dan Cederholm, Eric
Mhm.
May, and I learned HTML and CSS. And I absolutely loved it, but I quickly decided that I can't be a web designer and a web developer and run a business. So I took a big step back, obviously, from being a developer myself. So I had to
All
rely on
right.
a very good lead developer who I employed 11 years ago. His name's Alex, and he's still with us today. He's one of our lead developers today. And Alex would really work closely with me to make sure that we employed the right developers that we felt were a
Mhm.
good fit in terms of culture, but had the necessary skills. But I'm going to be honest, it's still difficult, because you can't
Yeah.
expect every developer to be, to have the same skills and expertise in all areas. So what we've managed
Mhm.
to do is we've managed to build a team of 7 full-time developers, and
Okay.
some of them have specialist expertise in particular aspects of web development, as you'd expect. So we've got
Right.
some developers that are stronger maybe on the front end, some developers that have additional strengths in certain areas of back end, maybe integrations and so on. But we've managed to build a good team where between the whole development team, we've got a real broad range of expertise. And we've now got, so within the company now, we've got 4 lead developers and 3 web developers. But as you say, it's not been easy. But I think, again, we've been quite lucky because actually all of our developers live within an hour of our office. So they are all local and we're all fully hybrid now. So we all come to the office at least
Right.
2 days a week. So that helps to build the culture because you've got to
Uh,
see, I think it's important personally to see people face to face, have those, you know,
Yeah.
face to face walks, discussions, go out for lunch, try and build that sort of relationships between your team and build the
Yeah.
culture.
It has its own thing, meeting people face to face. While, you and me sitting on the other side of the globe having this conversation on Zoom, but,
Sure.
from a company culture standpoint, I would any day, back for, meeting folks face to face and, having those brainstorming sessions,
Sure.
face to face wherein you can, actually understand what the other person is trying to kind of comprehend there.
Absolutely.
Right. And talking about client relationships, Darren, maintaining, long-term client relationships is crucial, and especially, on an agency side of things, right? Wherein we, start earning revenue after they have, kind of stuck with you for a decent amount of time. And talking about that, the retention happens, along with the seal, right? If you have solid
Sure.
right relationships, the retention kind of is taken care of more or less, right? But yeah, I mean, how do you, ensure, or what are the strategies do you employ to build those strong and, long lasting client relationships?
Sure. It's a great question. So, when we were very small, this was purely done by myself. Luckily
Okay.
now I've got a fellow director, Matt Johnson. He's our client services director, and we've got an account manager, Joe. So we've got a client services team now. But between the three
Uh-huh.
of us, the key focus
Mm-hmm.
for us is to invest the time to really understand their business. And we like to do that ideally face to face. We do have some international clients that we've still never met. We've got a couple of clients in America who obviously we haven't actually met face to face, but we talk, over the internet as we are
Mm-hmm.
today. But for us, if possible, we want to spend the time getting to know not just the business and their current
Mm-hmm.
situation and where they want to be and how we can help them get there, but understand the person, right? Because you're doing business with people, and we like to build those relationships where we regularly see those people that we work with in those marketing teams, and really we position ourselves as their proactive strategic advisor, particularly in the digital world. And we will bring along our subject matter experts in an early stage. So within early sales meetings, it would be led by myself, but I would introduce them to our subject matter experts. So that might be Greg, our web designer, it might be one of our
Mm-hmm.
lead developers. And we try and ensure that we can really offer our expertise to help that business achieve their objectives and get where they want to go in, as
Mm-hmm.
quick a space of time as possible. So our clients really benefit and love that from us. What we don't get asked to do with most of our clients is to be a reactive order taker. They encourage us to make suggestions, bringing in experience that we
Yeah.
have other clients, other sectors, and they're very keen for us to work closely with them as an extension of their marketing
Yeah.
team and proactively suggest new ideas, new features that could help their business. And that enables us really to build those long-term relationships, because most of our clients stay with us for 10 years or more. We've got some clients now that are at 15, 16 years or more, because they really see the value in us being an extension of their team and
You're right.
proactively helping them to grow their business. So that's something that we make sure that we invest the time in. And we also like to meet clients and take them out for lunch and talk about their personal, get to know them personally as well, not just
Yeah.
business, but talk to them about
Right.
their family, their holidays and stuff, and just build that relationship, which I think is vital.
Yeah, absolutely. When getting to know the, human behind the
Absolutely.
businessman, right? Or the founder, right? So yeah, so that is also
Definitely.
important. Right. So give us, since we're talking about clients, Darren, what is your favorite client story?
Wow. That's a really good question. I've got a couple, and one of them
Go for it.
I've got so one that I'm happy to share. And this is a long story. This is a 15-year story. This is a large, big global company called DP World, based in Dubai, $10 billion turnover company. I think they've got 35,000, 40,000 staff globally. So DP World they basically own and manage container ports all around the globe, and they're a logistics company. And we started working with them about 15 years ago now. And it was a phenomenal journey. It has been an amazing journey because we were a very, very small agency, and we were invited to pitch to basically do all of the marketing for a new container port and logistics park that they built in the southeast of England. And we ended up, we did some initial work for them to raise awareness about the port that was being developed, but we ended up doing just such a wide range of projects, over half a dozen websites that we designed, some of which we then built. But we did a lot more than that. We helped them implement their brand. We helped to produce their marketing materials. And it was a wonderful client relationship because I got to work with about 30 or 40 people in their business across all departments of the business. So we became really embedded as their sort of primary marketing agency, working to help grow, not just in their marketing department, but we would help in the HR department with them employing, they started with a handful of staff. They've now got over 1,000 full-time staff on their site. And we were invited to help in a whole range of ways in different departments, which was great. And that journey has now reached a point where we don't do a great deal for them because the container port is a huge success. It's achieved its objectives. All of the shipping lines now stop at London Gateway. That's the name of the port. So essentially our work is done, but we still help them to produce, a few ongoing projects as and when required. But that's one of my favorite examples of a long, really valuable client relationship where we offered a whole range of services and helped a business basically grow from nothing up to, over £100 million turnover business that it is today with over 1,000 staff on site. But if I think about a more relevant recent one, we've got a client right now that we absolutely love, and this is a US company. And this is a great story because this is a fintech company called Explore Technologies. They're a global business. They turn over sort of in the region of $700 million or so. And they came to us last year, and they've got a portfolio of between 20 and 30 websites. And their websites are all on different platforms by different agencies. And they were suffering from a lot of pain points, managing such a wide range of websites built by different companies on different platforms. And they found us on Google and they approached us and said, we love the sound of WordPress multi-site, and we're really keen to work with you to redesign and rebuild the websites in our portfolio. So we started the first project with 12 websites, which consisted of various brands and targeting different countries. So one of the websites is for Japan, one's for USA, one's for UK, one's for Spain. But they're a fantastic client, and they're a really good fit for us in terms of the way they work. They fit in really well with our sort of values. They really value us as that digital advisor. And they've got their own in-house marketing team that we work very closely with. So they had their own in-house SEO people that we worked with in that early phase of planning the new websites and the SEO strategy and migration. But that's a kind of client that we love to work with because it's very satisfying when a business comes to you where they are suffering from so many pain points. And, we know that we can really help them to overcome those pain points and get them to a place where their daily role in marketing can be so much happier and more efficient and more productive. So we're still on that journey. I think we've built about 15 sites for them so far, and we're working with them on other projects, other websites, other brands. And it's really rewarding for our team as well as the client. And they came to see us recently and we did a workshop together, took them out for lunch. So we managed to have that face-to-face meeting with their team, which was really nice. So that's a great sort of client for us. That's the kind of client that, we like to win more of because it's a really good fit for our expertise and our team.
Finally, Darren, 20 plus years, long time. What is the most important piece of advice you'd want to give to someone starting out in the web design and development industry. This one is for our listeners, young listeners out there.
Sure. I mean, the advice I would give, and this is the biggest regret that I have, absolutely try and read the very best books. There's so many good books out there written by phenomenally smart people.
Mhm.
I wish I would have gone on that journey of learning a long time ago. And in the last few years, 5 years maybe, I've read, 20 to 30 books a year about not just about our industry, right? So not just about website, web design, UX. I've read
Yeah.
those books throughout my career. But anyone thinking of starting an agency now, I would recommend that you read a couple of key books that give you the expertise and the knowledge required to how to build a team. So give you that advice on leadership. And there's a couple of books that I've read fairly recently, which I love. One is Turn the Ship Around, which is a fantastic book about leader
Yeah,
rather
it is.
than leader follower. And then the other one we love is Radical Candor, which is a fantastic book about, having those honest discussions with employees and being vulnerable and inviting them to critique you and ask what you could do better as a leader. So there are a couple of books that I wish I'd have read many years ago. And then the other one that we're big fans of here at Fellowship is a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, which we read recently. And then we decided to apply the EOS model to our business. And we found that to be very effective. And that's something that I would really recommend to anyone looking to start an agency or a business. Read those, find out the best books out there that that will help you to build an efficient business and the right people at an early stage. Because I think looking back, I learned a lot of things the hard way by trying to figure everything out myself. And don't get me wrong, I like to jump in at the deep end and learn things, myself.
It has its own fun, right? I mean,
It does. But in many ways,
falling and then standing up and then moving forward. Yeah, it has its own fun, right?
it definitely does. But I think looking back with hindsight, if I'd have read some of these fantastic books many years ago, I think the journey might have been, a bit more efficient. It might not have been quite so painful. Who knows? We could be, we're in a good position now. We've got a great agency, great team.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder where we could be now if maybe I would have just read a bit more at an early age. But that's the advice I would give. And the other crucial one is surround yourself with the best people you can. So, you can't be good at everything. You're not the best at everything. I tried to, and, looking back, I think I would have benefited from employing brilliant people at an earlier stage and essentially delegated more things to those, so that I could focus on the things that I love best and that I'm best at. Because, I'm not great at everything like anyone.
Lovely. Great, Darren. Thanks so much for those insights. It has been a lovely conversation. And for our audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Sure, absolutely. So 2 ways. Reach out to me directly via LinkedIn. You'll find our fellowship page and then you'll see me on there. So feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or just drop me an email to Darren, and that's DARREN @fellowship.agency. So I'm more than happy to respond to people by email. And yeah, thanks to you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
Lovely. Cheers, Darren. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.